What's going on, guys? New setup. It's like testing it for the 8th time today, just today.
You're actually correct. Like, I know you're trying to be sarcastic and exaggerate, but we're actually testing it for the 8th time today.
It's got to be many, many times. But...
Yes. I mean, within those 8 times, we've tested multiple things and multiple setups. But hey, hopefully it's doing better every time.
I think this is the best setup. This is the best. This is what we thought every time. But I think this is the best setup that we have so far. We have one Yeti mic bi-directional, so hopefully we don't experience any more technical difficulties. But anyway, you had a topic you wanted to discuss today?
Yes, so we gave people a precursor that we were going to talk about dating apps and using dating apps in 2022, 2023. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. What is your opening statement?
My opening statement
What did you want to say?
Well, I mean, there's so many things I want to say. I will begin with the fact that at one point in time, dating online was strange and weird, but now it's just the norm everywhere across the planet. Increasingly so, more and more people are turning towards dating apps to find someone they want to be with or something that they want to be in. Whether that's like monogamous, polygamous, or like whatever else in between that they're looking for. Now, the question is, or rather the question I have is, does it work? Does it actually help you do what it says it does? And my position is that it doesn't.
Well, I think we talk about this with everything, right? It's like a tool. It's like, can a pencil help you draw really great things? It's like it can. You can also be really bad at drawing. You know what I mean? So if you meet someone and it doesn't work, it's not like, oh, they don't work, right? But you could also meet someone and then it works and like, oh, dating apps work, but obviously that doesn't work for everybody.
That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that the business of the dating apps is to keep you on the application and keep you swiping.
Okay, but I also think that this whole argument with like keeping you on the apps and absorbing your data, I'm not saying that's not happening, but I'm saying there has to be a psychology, like there has to be a strategy for why that happens. Like if the app isn't bringing me a certain type of value, like, or triggering something within me that I think I want to do within the app, like a social, that's what I was saying, is like all these social media apps trigger or they fulfill some type of communication social aspect of humans. And so if I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of the app, like I'm very likely gonna not use it, I guess. Now I know other people have different like perspectives, like the app is brainwashing you to use it because it just, but I think it's still like fulfills some sort of, like, you've talked about this as well, it's like to me it's like a low effort attempt at trying to, you know, find something, whatever you're looking for. That's why a lot of people are like, I don't know why I'm on here. That's their bio, right? It's like, I don't know why I'm on here, I'm just bored, right? But it's the low attempt at like maybe something. So same thing with like all social aspects of like when you want to look for friends, you're looking for a girlfriend or whatever, you know, no one necessarily says outright or likes to say outright like, I am going to the club today because I want to find a girlfriend. Like no one really like goes, like, even if that's the case, like to just admit and say that is just like a weird thing to do, right? To be like, I'm going out to the club today, to the nightclub with all these drunk people and stuff because I'm looking for a girlfriend. But that's not really something that you would, you know, maybe you say that, but most people probably wouldn't. But the reason why you go out to these social things, wherever, that's why it's funny, because I think about 40-Year-Old Virgin, they have those examples of like, maybe it's not even that, maybe you got to go to the supermarket, maybe you got to go to the library.
40-Year-Old Virgin's like a decade old now.
It's a classic. You should watch, everybody should watch 40-Year-Old Virgin because it's such a great movie. Anyway, but it's the potential for interactions, right? Of like, it's like, this is why like meeting people at work or another, this is why Vancouver has events and adventures, because it's not where you're trying to find someone to date necessarily. It's like we're doing other things as a context. The club is I'm out for my friends, it's someone's birthday, and there's a chance that I could maybe meet someone, but I'm not like gonna put my whole focus on it, right? Like that might not be the whole reason. I'm here for a different reason. But the whole thing is just different potentials for different interactions that could happen, right? Like that's why you go out. That's why like you could just feel it. Sometimes people have that energy on a Friday, Saturday night. it's like I just want to be out, right? I don't want to be inside. I want to just be out. I at a fucking bar with my friends somewhere, whatever. There's potential for things to happen. So apps like Tinder and whatever, Bumble and stuff are like one of the lowest effort attempts at like crossing paths and creating maybe potentially some sort of relationship, some sort of crossing between people.
I think not, right? Because what you clearly said is like these apps are for dating, right? Like these apps are not for like not dating.
You can see the
it's not events and adventures, right? Like,
but they clearly are leaning towards other. They try strategies like Bumble has the find friends
right
thing,
again,
right?
But again,
Tinder has the like all these different things. Like, are you a gamer thing, or are you a night person, or are you whatever? Everybody understands that even if the goal to go out to the club is to find a girlfriend, everybody kind of sort of understands that there's a context that's needed aside from that, right? So Tinder tries to build a little bit of that. Like, how about we play? You know, have you seen the game ones?
Yes.
Of like, did you give the same answer as someone else when they watched this stupid little show thing?
Yes, but again, the premise is that when you're going out, you have the ability to say that you're out to do other things. The idea on Tinder specifically is that you're there to date. You can have like common themes with which you can match, right? So like gamer or like whatever, like you answer certain things. On Tinder BFF, like that's specifically like that's different. I don't know how many people Bumble BFF. I don't know how many people like dudes are using Bumble BFF. I've heard a lot of girls use Bumble BFF, but not a lot of dudes. So I'm genuinely curious how many people use Bumble's find a friend app feature.
I'm not saying any of that stuff works. Like,
no.
I'm just saying that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no. The point I'm trying to make is that like these apps, like specifically their dating version, is for dating, as versus like going out for events and adventures is going out for events and adventures, right? Like you at least have something else to do. Like when you're meeting a person off of Tinder or off of Bumble, it is essentially for like, okay, like let's see if we have like some kind of chemistry, right? That's not the case when you're going out for like events and adventures. You're going out for that event or an adventure, and if you happen to meet someone, that's like an added bonus. But here, that's not the case, right? Like the whole shtick is, okay, you might find somebody that you luck out with, right?
Yeah, but what is the question that we're asking? Like, are we asking, do they work? Isn't that the question you asked at the beginning?
Yes. So do they work? But like, so you were saying in terms of like, you were conflating the two, and I was trying to separate that they're not the same. Like events and adventures.
I'm just saying whatever the context of like, we are dating, this is for dating specifically, or we're out at events and adventures, everybody needs some sort of social whatever. So that's why not most, but like at least half, you could say, people on Tinder, their bio's like, I'm not really on here that much. I don't really know why I'm here. I'm kind of bored, so I'm kind of just swiping. I don't really, because very few people, some do, a smaller minority in my opinion, are like, I am looking for some people do, like on Bumble, they're like, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. But
a lot of people do.
But when they start with this whole thing, it's kind of awkward because there isn't. So this goes into something more specific with the dating apps, that I think this is where it doesn't work as well, you could say, and this could change over time or whatever. But the reason why people look for events and adventures, work, other common things to do, so it takes that pressure off of, are we compatible? Like, is this going to go anywhere? Are we good? Is this turning into something? Am I reading signs? Because that's why Tinder and those apps are awkward, because you've already said yes. Like, I'm into you, kind of, but like, I don't know anything about you. It's like Louis C.K.'s joke is like, the best thing, the most honest thing I can say is like, I want to fuck your face. That's his joke. That's his bit, right? Because that's all you got is you have this picture and you're like, yes, I have no context of anything. And so then when you meet, you're like, so that's why I can see where you kind of are either like, is this gonna be this type of date? Like, are we gonna go like just try to like make this work or something? Or is this just like a one night stand thing? Or is it like, you just try to figure out what this whole interaction is gonna be, but it's just awkward because it started with like, yeah, we both swiped right, and then it's kind of weird because it's based on such little context. But I've seen it work in different situations, and that's why they're trying to also add more. They're trying their best at the moment to add more layers of context besides just the picture. Like, do you like video games? Do you like nightclubs and stuff? Or do you look at this stupid little show game thing? Did you choose the same answers? Oh yeah, something in common there. They're trying to add more layers that can maybe sort of pull back the like just the swiping, so there's more context there.
Right.
But I just think that, again, like we said, it's like it taps into, like, same thing with a lot of social media apps. It's like the lowest, not lowest effort, but it's like a very easy. So like we talked about Twitter, for example. Trying to get a pulse on like what everyone thinks and what their opinions are. In real life, without social media, you would have to either be in like a crowd of people and try to like listen to people or like talk to every individual person. It's just like a lot of, it's not really realistic to do. But Twitter gives you a platform to do something like that takes you very minimal time, right? You just kind of scroll through some tweets and then you have an idea. With Tinder and Bumble, it's like, yeah, like you're skipping a lot of the, we're meeting in a weird, like, work or something else, intervention adventures, and then there's some time of like, oh, is she kind of cute? I don't know. And then there's some talking. You're skipping a lot of that just by like swiping. You lose the context, but it's like the quickest like chance. There's a chance. It's a very, like, obviously right now for a lot of people it's a very low chance. Not many people are like, I'm super successful on Tinder, like I'm sure some people do, but for the most part, a lot of people are like, yeah, I prefer to meet someone in person, which is understandable, right?
I mean, that's what I was gonna hit on, right? Like, I think it's we are at the mercy of the medium, and the medium is inadequate as of now to actually give the person, like the context that is like currently lacking is because you're not meeting the people in person, right? Like when like humans communicate more than 90% or 80% like via non-verbal communication, right? So even with virtual communication, there's just like, even if you're doing video, there is a limit to which how much information is communicated. So when you are in person, it just changes the entire game, right? So,
well, what I would hope that this is moving towards, and where I think, again, like I see it as a tool where it can be like valuable, but depending on how we use it, maybe in tandem with other social media platforms and whatever, it's same way. Like I've heard all these stories. I've told you this before too, where like some artists, like concept artists and stuff, they've met their wives because they were fans of their art first.
Yeah.
And some of them were like mentors. So and then one of them was like a more social, like, I guess he would like talk, he talks about, his name is Noah Bradley, and he talks about why you shouldn't go to art school and stuff. So I think some people like fell into the, like, he's known a little bit for being that in the art community, for being that guy that's like, don't go to art school, you don't need to, you're wasting money, you're gonna be in debt. And so I think, a lot of people have fell into that, like, and I've had like just the smallest experience of that is like, putting myself out there honestly in whatever form of media, which again, like, these platforms give you different ways to express yourself, right? Like you saw that little montage TikTok reel that I made for Instagram. There's stuff like that where I think these it's like video is a medium, podcasting is a medium. There's a lot of different ways to express yourself through these platforms, right?
Sure,
so I think the way I would like to see this happen, and this is what I would hope, is like when you're on Tinder and someone at least has their Instagram profile drop there, you can go and look at their Instagram profile. They have a little bit more context, because I would say there's some things about me that I can just have on my profile, YouTube, Instagram, right? That gives more context sometimes than just talking to me in person. Because in person, depending on the context, it's difficult for me to like tell you all the things,
sure,
right? To be like what I first met you, right? And I'm just gonna be like, here's 2 hours of my life story that's like, I don't know if that, you know what I mean? But if you're curious, same thing if you're hiring someone, if you're curious about someone, this is what people do, right? The reason why you go and snoop someone's profile is because you're curious about who they are, potentially, right? And that's why, like, of course you can be someone that just says, I don't post, like, I don't, whatever. But I would say in a lot of circumstances, you're missing an opportunity to put out something that this is who I am, kind of thing, right? So it's easy, whereas like it's much nicer, like I said the few times when people come and like, hey, I've seen your stuff, they at least have some context on who I am before I even met them, so I don't have to, versus, I'm going polar opposites here, but versus the time where they don't know you and they're like, what are you doing with you just what do you got? You just met them and they're like, what are you doing with your life? Like, are you like, you just make videos and stuff? Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Whereas if they see it, right? And so if you're looking for dating like a partner or whatever, I would hope that, like, this is an ideal situation. This is why it's good that they link those profiles, is that can be like, okay, sure, we'll start here. I like the way they look. Let's look at their profile. This is what I hope, right? This is what I try to do. I look at their profile. Like, I was talking to this one girl who, like, she really likes anime and she's like drawing, or she's a really good artist, painter and stuff like that, right? And I'm like, that's really cool. And then right now we have like a nice Instagram relationship where we just talk about anime and stuff like that. And that was cool just because of that, because now I have some context on her. She has some like anime tattoos and whatever. So that was cool, right? Versus like, I don't know, I'm not saying it wouldn't work out perfectly when we met out in real life. Maybe that would work out perfectly, but I could also see just another context in real life where I wouldn't get the full context on her. It's like the way we met Zach is like, because you told me Zach did comic stuff, but I had no idea he did that before you told me. So I think social media is just another potential for you to get context on someone. Right. Sure.
Again, I'm not talking specifically about social media, right? I'm talking specifically about dating apps. And I think, yes, to a certain extent, they do offer avenues into, or avenues about context for you. I know it's hard. It is hard. But...
Well, because to me, it's like, preferably, you're not just on one app doing one thing and then you're judging it based on that. Because to me, it's almost like, again, this is not a one-to-one analogy. I'm trying to think of a better analogy, but it's like, you have like a drill bit, and then all you have is that drill bit, and you're just like, does this work? And you're like, well, I mean, if you're using just the drill bit by its own, it's kind of hard to like, whatever.
There's tons of people who...
It can work, but...
No, there's tons of people who use only dating apps as their, point of like social media. There's tons of people like that. A majority of people are not putting their life on social media. So for the broader perspective is that, I'm on dating apps and this is what I'm trying.
But I would just say that's not real. You're not really...
You're not doing it correct?
Yeah, like not you're doing it correct, but it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm sure there's a better analogy out there, but it's akin to, this is the best analogy I have right now, is like, I'm just using the drill bit by itself. And you're like,
right.
I mean, I'm not saying there's no chance it will work. I'm just saying, like, there's a much more efficient way of doing this. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is a way. Do you know what I mean?
I don't disagree that there is a way. I'm just saying that
how you use the tool.
Yes, but like I would say,
it's like you're trying to drive the screw in with the hammer, and you're like,
but what I'm saying is like, you're trying to use like a different tool for a different purpose. Like, I don't think the tool is right to help you find a consistent long-term partner, is what my position is. Because I'm not saying that they have it. I think though that the platform itself is, it makes it very, it has like a callousness built into it, right? Like you literally have people at your fingertips, so you are not invested, or you're like, the mentality isn't to invest in whoever you are with. The app is essentially trying to push you to find whoever is next. Come back, stay active, there's new people on the app, keep swiping, there's a group search, join. Essentially, the application is not trying to say like, hey, we are trying to help you find the love of your life. Again, I'm not saying, like that is the case and you have like a love of your life. I'm just saying they are not in the business of trying to help you find something that you're looking for so that you're off the platform. They want you to be coming back to the platform, and that's built into the platform. And that is like what I have bone, like that's the bone that I'm trying to pick.
I guess, like, I can see what you're saying in, like, if you read into which you totally can, the psychology behind the way the app is designed, in that, because we talked about this is what you wanted to say before, which is, because you can swipe, that's how quickly you can just go by people. It's like, nope. It's like, there is this is what you said last time. Not not like illusion, but like this. There's just like an abundance.
Yeah.
Of people. It's like
But it's an illusion of abundance.
There'll be
right?
another one.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily an illusion because there's billions of people on the planet.
Yes, but not all of the people are going to have like the same feeling for you, right? Like you have to invest in some relationship somewhere at some point in time, but the inherent bias of this platform is that it isn't trying to keep you, like stuck in with those partners.
But
it is offering it at your fingertips.
But I would think that if an app came along, or the app itself, whatever we're talking about, doesn't matter, led you to find what you're looking for, that app would be more popular because people would be like, no, I actually, whatever the way that app was designed differently or the same or
I totally agree with that. I'm saying in the current form, dating apps are not working.
But I think where I'm going with that is I think they're trying their best to, because eventually
I disagree with that. I think they're incentivized to try otherwise, right? Because they're incentivized. So like as a product manager,
maybe now, but I think eventually, like people, like the opinion that you have and lots of people have, and I sometimes have as well, of like they just don't work. There's no context. They're weird. I don't think they want to continue having that type of. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think that's the thing, right? Like, it's a business. End of the day, it's a business. You gotta make money, right?
But why?
How are you making money?
That's what I'm saying. Is how are they gonna make money if everybody's opinion of them is like, nah, it doesn't really work. I'm not gonna find anybody on there. There's no context.
No, that's not the thing. It's almost like it's a monopoly, right? They have this monopoly over this entire market, and that is why they get to control how it's done. So, for example, if like let's say you are you're trying to do like D2C through Amazon. If Amazon decides to make the exact same product that you were selling, you're fucked. Because even if you can go to other like platforms, they are 10% of like the entire user base, right? Where is the user base? So like that's what the problem is.
I think there's a lot of apps that are used besides Tinder.
Yes, they are, but where is the majority, of people? The majority of people lives on like a few of them, right? The majority of the people are not on all of the apps.
But I think because it'd be different if it was only Tinder and we have no other way of like finding people online through any other ways. But because there's all these other, there's Bumble and
yes,
Hinge
but like they're
and
all
Facebook. I think they would be competing to be better at like for example, like the one that like Hinge is like, you're trying to be, at least they have the slogan of like the app that's supposed to be deleted kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So like I would argue that they're at least pretending, which obviously they would like to be, if they were known of being successful as an app, then people would more likely go towards that app again because of the competition.
Sure, but right? Again, like
otherwise now we're looking at like, and you could get this argument too if you want, is like the app is so addictive regardless of what we actually want as humans, that now we're just subject to this addiction of this app because the psychology has got it down.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, so if it's not that, then I would say then the apps are, because we want what we want, whatever app is going to fulfill what we need more. Then
I mean, you could have just said, "No, the market will fix it," right? Like that's not going to happen. It's not like the business is not, motivated by what is good for humanity or what's good for the end user, right? They are motivated by, okay, am I solving a part of the user's problem for which they're willing to pay me money? Do they get the feeling that I'm solving some part of the problem that they have? So all these people have to do is just keep on they're all like a version of the same thing if you look at it, right? Like they're not very different. all of them, even though, you know, like Hinge is saying that, oh, we want to be the app that wants to be deleted, all of them are like, oh, we are like a subscription based, buy a subscription, get no ads, you know, we'll like push you to more people. They are like, the business model around that business of like dating is the same.
But
you
they
have
have
to
to-
make money by like keeping the people on the platform, getting them to pay for some of the services that you're providing.
But I would say like most platforms, and especially the way the direction of the internet and like the abundance of resources, whatever, I don't know if that's the right word, but like I get enough value without paying, right? So if they, I don't know what scenario we have, but if they suddenly put up a paywall, I'm not gonna be like, oh shit, I gotta pay now, because like they have to. It's like the classic Gary Vee thing, is like you have to give enough, like almost preferably always, without even asking, like for you to actually care in the first place, right? Like I guess there are some people that maybe feel like, for sure, like, you know, this is the only way, and the app has convinced them that, yeah, if I spend more money, then I can figure it out more. Like Tinder has that thing. Well, someone got smoked by that car. If I pay the money, then I can see the people that liked me, right? That's what Tinder has. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, okay, well, now I could then, you know, subconsciously or consciously, you're like, my chances go up because now I can see, maybe I'll say yes to the people that also like me back, or something, right? But at some point, like, you know what everybody's feelings are about, like, when people have to pay now, right? Again, it'd be different, like you said, if this monopoly was so strong that, like, we literally have no choice. They're forcing us to pay in order to meet someone, and there's no other way. Then it's like, all right, that's fucked, right?
Right. No, but like what you're saying is something different, right? Like my point isn't that these are not freemium thing. They're always going to be free because that's how they keep getting you back, right? The whole stick works because it's available for free. Because if it was completely paid, then the business would run into the ground. So like the only way to keep like that business running is to give it away for free, but then because you're giving it away for free, you have to make money some other ways, and that ways of making money is what is fucked, in my opinion, because that doesn't keep that's not motivated to keep the user, you know, like help the user find a person and be invested in that relationship. They are just like, okay, find the next person till you find the next person after that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, like, for sure. If they I get what you're saying. Like they would like you. It's almost like it's more beneficial as a business model for you to like find someone and then it doesn't work out, so you come back to the app, right? But I think that, like, if that kept going, if that was the influence of the app somehow, that they could, I don't know what they would do to make you, I don't like people, so like you know, you go on this date and you're like, it didn't work out, fucking guess I gotta go back to Tinder. I don't know if they would have an influence on how that date would go, but I feel like if that was the case and it was the app's fault, like it was the app that was scripting that somehow, or like whatever, like I don't think people would eventually...
No, it's not the app, right? It's us that is we are the habit creators. We get in the habit of habitually looking at people and, you know, judging whether, oh, like, you know, like I'll swipe left or right. So essentially we are creating within ourselves this idea that, okay, like, you know, if this doesn't work out,
are you saying like the psychology of using the app makes you like, when you go on a date, you're like, oh, I'll find another one.
Exactly,
right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it creates this psychology within people who use it, which is much more callous as versus dating in real life. That's what I'm trying to say.
I guess I just don't think that it's that, like, I could see some people getting wrapped into that, but I also think, I mean, you would agree with this, but I know this is me having too much faith in humanity, which I do sometimes. I guess maybe that's my problem. But I just feel like that's up to you. That's like it's kind of like,
sure, but then, like, you know, a lot of times, like, people will say, like, let's say, you know, you meet this cute girl that you find attractive. If she's like, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship, but you actually are, you'll just be like, oh yeah, like I'm also not looking for a relationship, just because like maybe you can change their mind. But again, I think there's a lot of people who are on these apps who don't really know what they want for themselves, or they know what they want but are willing to, give other indications just because they think they can change the person's mind once they meet in person or something, right? So there's layers to this problem because of the medium through which we are trying to facilitate that dating experience.
Well, I guess I just don't think it's always. Again, this is, you can argue both either way till the end of time, but I don't always think that's like the app's fault. Like the app is creating this, like, of course the app can like lean you towards certain tendencies. But I still think it's up to you to take ownership of your own psychology.
Sure, but what I would say is, because all of the dating apps are of this type, and you don't have anybody trying to do dating apps in a different way, we are essentially creating a generation of people who are then more, inclined to that than not.
Yeah, I could sort of see that, but I think, I guess I'm very. This is just my like natural
instinct.
Because obviously, like from communications, and maybe when I was younger, maybe, or certain parts of my life, and maybe even now sometimes, where it is very easy to like look at the rest of what's happening around you that isn't really in your control, and put a lot of the ownership on them, kind of thing. Which is not, I'm not saying they're not all trying to make money, and so they're trying to design their apps in a certain way, and all that stuff, but it's the line where I draw is like where the influence it has on you, right? Which is, of course, you can be empathetic to people in certain situations where the influence can be stronger, right? So people that have less situations where they're more susceptible to being influenced, like someone who's very lonely in high school or just after high school and they have no friends or whatever, maybe they're more susceptible to the psychology of the app, like controlling them or whatever, influencing the way they think or whatever. But at the end of the day, I still think the line should be drawn somewhere where it's like, okay, well, at what point is it your responsibility to like make these decisions, rather than just like, the apps made me. Facebook is so addictive, and Instagram's so addictive, and I just can't control. Right. Like, why are they trying to like control me and stuff? Like, oh my god, it's so terrible. Like,
no, I'm not saying blame the tool. I'm saying be aware of the tool so that you can then mitigate its downsides, right?
Well, you were just saying it doesn't work. That was where this started.
I mean, yes, it doesn't work for dating, in my opinion, but like I'm saying, it doesn't work because it creates. So I mean, like you are you are limited by the platform or the medium which you're using, right? Which is photographs. So photographs, not everybody's photogenic. Like I'm not. Like so, there are a lot of people who look like much cuter in person as versus like, in photographs. So you are limited by the medium and the platform.
Like I would say even without dating apps, right? If you relinquish, this is a very extreme example, and I'm sure you're gonna have a lot to say about this too, but if you relinquish the line of responsibility where you decide what it is you want from a relationship, even without dating apps, you can be like, well, people are just going to look at money, they're going to look at just looks, they're just going to look at these other things that society has decided, or whatever influences psychology wherever it came from. And you can be like, oh, society just, like, this is funny because some people, this is another interesting segue we can talk about later, because I'm curious, because I don't know how I feel about this thing. One of these MMA guys, you know how they're on Sports Illustrated, there was a lady in a swimsuit who was kind of overweight.
Okay.
And so they're trying to make it more acceptable to be like overweight, and it's not always like a so but he's very much against that, and I know I could see a lot of like personal trainer type people being like, what, we're just gonna glorify fat people, you know, like they're really not not really on board with this whole movement,
right?
And so that's kind of like where that's the same thing. It's like all these influences, right, of people kind of thing, right? So it's the same thing of like where that line is, where like you should hopefully decide, like, do you think this is where I'm still with that particular one, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but like, you know, but that's up to me to decide, like, do I think we should, this is their words, should we glorify, you know, being overweight, you know, kind of thing, and like those that's a different issue, but you see what I'm saying, is like, even without the apps, like, you at some point I would hope that you can decide for yourself where, you know.
I hope so, but again, like, what I'm trying to say is that because you are getting primed for it so early, and you're not really conscious when you're, you know, like 16, 17, 19, whatever, you know, like, even at 25, like, you're like still, like, you know, pretty young. Like, you haven't really formed or understood what it means to be dating or what the fuck you want from dating. And if you are primed for this, you are then liable or susceptible to that format of thinking, which you might have been less possible before. Again, it's not like I'm trying to, you know, like, create an experiment with social scientists to prove it, but
I think it goes back.
I think
like,
it's multitudes of things that make
totally, right? Like, and I can like, there is a great argument for that, where, like we were saying, with people that are more susceptible, you know, to certain things, it's like, should there even be these things out there that can influence them so easily for someone who's in a place, whatever, right? But I guess it goes back to, like, preferably not, I guess, but also I think even like deeper in the root of the source of all these things, I would prefer, right, when I think of Bobby or certain characters, where, you know, everybody's had those moments early on in their life, very young, where you didn't agree with, or you felt like you might be weird or something if you had a different opinion, but to stay true to those, you know, and like follow that more. Whereas it's that balance of, like, also, you know, in society, sometimes you do have to conform for some things, and, like, you know, but there's some things where it's like you should stay true to how you feel about certain things, right? Whereas, like, again, being a natural human, like, animal, it's part of just human nature and natural, like, whatever, survival, like we see in Discovery Channel, to be influenced by, like, all kinds of things, your surroundings, community, all types of stuff, right? So, like we talked about, it's both. It's like a balance of both.
I think so too.
But I think it's more valuable.
Saya.
I thought Saya was puking.
No. She is playing with this.
Yeah. But I think it's more valuable and more, like, you can have more influence on your own life, preferably, right? If you can make those decisions yourself, if you can see life that way. So we can even pull up the, like, slave morality versus master morality, right? So slave morality, real quick, if I can sum this up as fast as I possibly can with trying to be clear. Slave morality is more like when you take the responsibility off yourself, and it's on society or on your parents,
on the culture,
whatever. You're kind of like,
beliefs.
Mom told me to do this, so I'm doing it, and I'm being a good boy. It's kind of like they said it's kind of akin to, like, certain types of religions, where you're like, God has a plan, I'm just following the plan. I don't decide anything. I just do what I'm told, and I'm a good boy. If I do what I'm told, I'm a good boy. I just do what the teachers tell me, and then
I get to go to heaven.
Yeah, and there's some situations where slave morality is useful, in the sense of, like, if you're looking at a full community that needs to make a decision what's best for the community. Sometimes even if you don't agree, it might be better if you agree with the democratic, everybody decided the same thing, right? Because you can't just be the one person doing some other stupid shit while everybody decided we should do this one thing, right? So there's, you know, good times and bad times to use slave morality. Master morality is the other way, where you take on full responsibility and you make the decisions for whatever it is, right? But that morality, like whatever you do, whatever happens, the consequences, it's on you, right? Even if everybody said go left, but you just really felt like you wanted to go right, you go right. That's master. But you also take on, if that doesn't work out, if something goes wrong, you own that, right? But you can decide those rules, though, of what you think is right, what you think is wrong. So in a lot of these situations, especially with your own, how you look at life and how you go about these things, I try to push a little bit more towards master morality because it's so easy to fall into slave morality in the sense of like, well, you know, that's the only thing. There's nothing I could have done, right? Like society told me that you know, like they said I should be an engineer and make lots of money, so I did it, and then whatever it is, right? I'm just making up stuff, but that I guess that's just the
or like you know they said like get married, like whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah. And so when you have conceptions of, and this is where I think a lot of people pull up, like they fall into the fatalistic types of points of view, right? Because they get trapped by the slave morality of those influences,
that is
right?
True.
It's
that
like
is true.
if I gotta get like if I want a girlfriend, I need to be rich and I need to have a good job and stuff, but I don't want to like work those jobs and I'm not good at those things, so now I'm stuck. I feel depressed now because I don't want to do those jobs because but then I'm not going to make enough money, so then I can't get, you know, and then you feel stuck because of those things. Whereas like if you decided, and it'll feel weird sometimes, right, being your own person that's different. This is why Bobby is such an interesting character, because sometimes he pushes intentionally in the opposite direction as of making a point, right? Like we went to Japan and he intentionally bought this bright purpley pink vest just cause fuck it, it's weird. Like who gets, like, you know, like what's the most cool thing that in society? Just a standard black cool vest with whatever. He's like, no, fuck, I'm gonna get a pink vest. I don't fucking care, right? To make a point of like not being, you know, I'm being different. It's same like I think Chomsky had an example where he talked about this too, where he always remembered when he stood up for this kid that was getting bullied when he was young. But he eventually, like, because I guess he was just standing and they were throwing whatever, and he stood up with him, but he eventually came down, and he says that's also one of, like, his regrets is, like, I should have just stayed there with him, kind of thing, right? But you can see that's that balance of, like, should I be like everybody else and kind of just, or, like, maybe I won't join in, but I won't, like, stand up for him, or should I do what feels right to me and, like, stand up to everyone else, right? And so it's always that balance kind of thing, like, you know?
True. So in summary, what I would say is dating apps are a tool currently.
Dating apps don't work.
No, the current format of them are dysfunctional, and I hope that, you know, they, as a part of their business and to, you know, reclaim like a better reputation for themselves so that they actually work for people, use, you know, like information and like information campaigns to train and help people understand what they want, who they are, and what kind of relationships they are looking for as a part of those apps, right? Like I wish, like, again, I'm not saying that, you know, an MBTI is like a way to go, but I'm saying, you know, those things like that which help a person assess what, you know, like get a window into yourself so that then they can help find the right kind of a person. Again, I think that would be much more important.
I think you came up with a great app idea.
If someone wants to make it with me, hit me up. Like, but essentially, what I'm like, the current format of it is not really functional, and it's creating. I think it will create bad ripple effects like down the line. So I hope that, like any other tool, we improve on it and take it in a place where it is actually functional for society as a whole. But next time, I think we'll talk about overweight people in MMA.
No, that's not what the subject was.
No? Okay, what is the subject? Okay, then what is the subject?
No.
Help me understand.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. There's lots of overweight MMA people that are way better than a lot of people that are.
Okay.
That's not the issue. The issue is like
glorifying fat people.
That can be like one of them, which also leads to like there's certain things where I guess like PC stuff sometimes feels like it's too heavy-handed. It's like when, so it, like, you know what?
I have a different opinion on that, but
yeah, well, no. Sometimes like it's great, like,
sure.
and there's a good argument. See, this is we're getting into it now. I don't know if you want to get into it.
No. I mean, like, just let's set it up for next time, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's important. I question myself. Like, I don't know where I stand sometimes in certain things. So I'm like, yes, the media does have a, you know, based on communications, we know that media should be very conscious of the influence that it has on setting standards and expectations and normalized, you know, status quo type stuff. And so I don't know where I stand on some of these things, because sometimes it's in the right direction. 100% that should happen. They should have more representation for certain groups and all that stuff. But sometimes it's just done without it's done so like kind of like, you know, like the token, we'll just hire a colored person.
Yes. I
kind
mean,
of
there's
thing.
a lot of tokenism. There's
Right.
a lot of misguided.
Or like in
moves.
Avengers, I told you
Yes.
this one, right? In Avengers, it's not like, I guess some people liked it. Maybe for like kids they really liked it. But there's one part where all the girl superheroes come and they walk together, and it's just like, for most people, like at least adult, you're kind of like, that was like really corny. That was like super corny, right? Because it's like one stands up and they're like, well, who's gonna help you? And she's like, or something, don't worry. And then all the girls come behind, and you're like, whoa, that's so, I get it. Like, I'm not saying I totally, support, but it's also, that was just very, that's too much.
But again, it's an Avengers movie. Like, there's like so much
for
like plot holes.
For like that's not the plot holes, but it's like, it's like for a 6-year-old.
Yes,
like,
it's,
maybe,
for a girl, it's like
maybe, like, but I think even a lot of like adult, they'd be like,
yeah, but like I think it's so just like with overweight people like it's not glorifying overweight people, but the way I see it is almost like representation, right? It's like, yeah, you are a part of us. It's the 80s, like like bottle glass figure, like those women don't really exist, right? It's that kind of thing. Like, see people that actually look like you is what it could be more about, and that's what I am thinking more about.
That's why it's like, it's so difficult for me to to figure out what my opinion is on these things, because like so many things. One is like, like the interpretation of what they're trying to do, right? Because think of the words that someone else might use versus what you just said, right? It's like glorifying fat people versus what you said. It's like yours sounds much more acceptable, obviously, but also just, I don't know how, like because when the media has to put something out like about whatever it is, anything like just a show, you just make a show, you're inevitably assuming certain norms or stuff, like
sure
there's inherently
like big companies like Disney and like now Amazon, very recently after The Boys, they had to create this organization called S&P, which is Standards and Procedures. So there are certain norms in a society that you have to follow when you're making media for like the masses.
It's like even if you just have let's say we just made a regular sitcom, or like just a show, or even just a TikTok or whatever, casually, and you have someone in the background that's just there, even if they're a regular person that you have no control over, that's already, you could say, has some influence, like, oh, that's what a regular person looks like, right? And that's already sitting, right? And then someone's gonna see that and be like, oh, I don't look like that, am I not regular, and it's just so difficult, because then now with these things like Sports Illustrated and stuff like that, when they put something out, they're like actively like saying something,
yes,
right? And I feel like that's so difficult that I don't know what, like, if I was the guy of Sports Illustrated, like, I don't know what I would do, like, because I get, because every issue has a different way to argue it, and they're totally different issues, like the colored thing versus the overweight thing versus the like feminist, whatever.
All
those things are very different.
Absolutely.
But
not each PC thing is the same, but what gets happen is there's a lot of tokenism, there's a lot of misguided pushes in trying to make certain things happen. What's his name? Dave Chappelle keeps on billowing about trans people. I think in a certain extent he is correct that the reason why a lot of gay movement or trans movement moved forward was because of white men. Was there were there have been traditionally white men who have been in that position, and they have tried to emancipate themselves, and it has worked for them. So again, not trying to say what Dave Chappelle is saying is right or wrong. I'm just saying that there has been certain traditionally privileged people who have gotten away with more things and more privileges. But again, I would say this is a topic for next time. So wrapping it up, I think we've left enough food for thought on the table.
All right.
All right.
Thanks. Catch you guys next time.
Ciao.